KLTV soundcheck, KLTV soundcheck.
All right, everybody. Welcome to our Tuesday morning Commissioners meeting. We will begin by having our invocation, which Mr. Larry Wood will offer for us.
God, thank you for creating this country. Thank you for setting America apart, and we pray for its future. We pray for our leaders in Washington, D.C. We pray for our leaders in Olympia, and we pray today especially for our leaders right here in Cowlitz County. Thank you for your hand that is on our land, and I pray that you bless it, and our leaders, our volunteers, and everyone in our community. We just pray that you would, Lord, that we would, in this county, rekindle the vision that our county, our really this city that we're in was founded on over 100 years ago with a vision. And I pray that you would restore vision to our county, to our state. And I think you're doing it for our country. We pray that you bless us in your name. I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll please join me with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of March 10th through the 12th. Is that where we're at here? Yeah.
17th and 19th. Okay, there's been a motion to approve minutes. Any discussion on those? Okay, we'll take a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll excuse Commissioner or Chairman Dahl. He is performing his civic duty this morning and his jury duty, so he is excused today. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. First off, though, we'll start off with our proclamations. And for April of 2025, the Fair Housing Month in Cowlitz County, and I believe we have somebody here representing them that would read that for us.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Mike Wallen. I'm the Government Affairs Director and Fair Housing Chair for the Lower Columbia Association of Realtors. We represent property owners, realtors, and affiliates in Cowlitz, Wahkiakum, and Pacific counties. April is Fair Housing Month. It's the month that we celebrate and bring awareness to our communities the importance and value of fair housing. That is that we have vibrant communities where all people are welcome to enjoy housing equally, to have equal access to housing opportunities. This month, we have a number of activities underway, by the way. We have a book club in Longview at Magpie Books. Every Wednesday, we're reading The Color of Law, which is the forgotten history of how government and government actions has segregated America. So it's a pretty interesting activity there. And then we've had a great experience with the Expo Center, by the way, and the staff there. On Tuesday, April 15th, we have a fair housing forum open to the public all day, where we're going to be discussing a number of issues facing our community and elsewhere. And so the public is welcome. It's a free event for everyone to attend. Included in part of that event is investigative journalist Bill Dedman. He's the Newsday reporter who did the report Long Island Divided and found the redlining and steering practices in Long Island a couple of years ago. So he'll be speaking at that event. It'll be a pretty engaging opportunity for people to do that. So we appreciate you reading the proclamation and proclaiming April Fair Housing Month in Cowlitz County. You're joining Pacific County, which is doing so right now as well as Wahkiakum County, who's already done so in a number of cities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we need a motion to approve that, Kelly, or do we just agree? We do? Okay.
Yeah. So I move approval of the proclamation for the Fair Housing Act.
Okay. There's been a motion to approve. Any conversation or discussion? Comments? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, as far as our consent agenda goes, we have call for bids for the Garlock Road Delameter Creek Fish Passage project to replace the concrete box culvert milepost, .72. That's scheduled for April 21st, 2025. Contract bids and awards. We have local agency consultant agreement with PBS Engineering and Environmental to perform civil, structural, and geotechnical hydraulic and hydrologic engineering and environmental services for Delmere Road culvert replacement project, and that cost is not to exceed $843,071. Board correspondence, we have letters and notices. The Federal Energy Regulation Commission notice regarding the Merwin Dam Safety Inspection Report, and the executed contracts and agreements and resolution letters, the affidavit of posting, the resume for the month of February 2025. Vouchers, we have ratification for the Drainage Improvement District, number 1, ratifying the payments that we incurred in December of 2024, totaling $3,709.42. Then we have a voucher ratification for the Drainage Improvement District, number 1, ratifying the payments of the expenses incurred in January 2025 for the same project, totaling $24,758.24. And we have vouchers totaling $3,674,730.67. And that is our consent agenda for the day. We have no motion items, but we can go ahead and open the mic to any public comments if there are any.
I say you need a motion to approve the
Oh,
consent
yeah.
agenda.
Apologies. Okay,
I move approval of the consent agenda.
okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Any comments?
Good morning, Commissioners. Regarding item number 1 on the fish passage expenditures that we're making as a county, Commissioner Steve, you're on the fish board for the county, and I highly encourage you to ask the good questions that says, are we achieving the goals that those fish passages are supposed to be doing, the economics of doing that, and are there good alternatives? But most importantly, what are the results? We've been spending this money for years and years and years now. Let's look for results. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
I speak about anything or provide them.
And for the, wait, when we get to the public part, you
Oh.
can, yeah. Any other comments on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Public comment.
Hey, Commissioners, Larry Wood, and I just appreciate being able to come back. And I wanted to, I don't really know how to respond. I wanted to maybe give a monologue for 3 minutes about why I think tiny homes should be a future, part of the future. I think that I am going to more formally offer a public-private partnership. But, you know, I think that the vision of our city, I'm just saying Longview, when it was founded, the way I understand it, over 100 years ago, with the biggest really industrial wood paper mill in the world at the time, people located here because of the industrial base, and they had to bootstrap themselves up with affordable housing. What I've observed since I've been in the housing, and you know, this is my perspective, it's the way I've seen it, I've got to know people who have influenced our housing, and the single room occupancy is where people would come and bootstrap. The little tiny rooms that were available where you could say, hey, Mabel, I'm going to move to Longview. I'm going to have to pay, you know, $5 a week or whatever for a room, and you're going to collect the money, and I'm just going to go there and work, and I'm going to live like a pauper. I'm going to send some money home, and then I'm hoping that someday we can go build a house together. But, you know, what my observation is that city planners do not want to be associated with things like the Oregon Way Hotel. They're virtually impossible to build. It's a little bit like a modern day RV park. Everybody wants to use the facility. If you build an RV park in a place with a very big population, it's going to be used. But city officials don't want to do it. And they avoid doing things, in my observation, from my candid conversations behind closed doors, not official business, that they don't want to be embarrassed with their legacy of serving the poorest people. That's a very blunt way of saying it. You're punished if you help the lower half. It's much nicer to help the uppity people and that build the beautiful things, while most people are left behind. And I think that we need to be intentional about those who are most vulnerable. And I think single room occupancy, I think tiny homes. So I just want to say, I would love to do a public-private partnership, and I'm just going to outline it in a minute and then see how we could go from here. But I'm aware that there's, I think, 4.5 acres at the end of the fairgrounds right next to, I forgot the street there, and even the consultants that the county has hired over the years have not seen or had a vision for that property. It is where you guys were considering, the previous leaders were considering an RV park, which I think for a number of reasons, if a government owns something and then you're not going to serve people that have a 1969 Winnebago, you're going to create a lot of misery for yourself. The Cowboys don't want to pay $50 a night to get hookups because they're all dry camper RVs. And I would love to, my idea is for you to use the residual money that's left over from the developer realtor recording fees. And if you guys would develop the underground for a plan that would be appropriate for, say, 10 units per acre, tiny home project, I think we could build a model community. If you provided the land on a 40-year note, I would go vertical. There'd be no liability. I would finance, and I would limit the who I would sell it to, as well as if I would not really make a profit. I would move past, when it was done, I would give it fully back to the county. So you would spend a few $100,000, take a piece of land, and it would be utilized. I wouldn't ask for a break in taxes or even utilities, because it would stand alone with that help. And then at the end of the 40 years, the county would get back a multi-million-dollar, cash flowing investment that you could continue to rent, or you could, give it to somebody else. But it would be essentially a land lease. And I just hope that we could, have dialogue about it. I've talked to a local lender, a credit union that's willing to do it because of the history I have with the institution. And so I just feel like, this is not the time that most developers are active, because we who are in the real estate industry can sense the slowdown. And I think it's a lot like '08, but I think it's a great time for a public-private partnership to get going, because I think I would love to get this thing, maybe the groundwork would be done in a year and I could begin in a year. And I think it would be an awesome thing. And I would propose like a 400 square foot tiny homes with a common community area. And I just think it would fill a niche that would be a huge need. And I would just love to have formal conversation, do a workshop or whatever, because I'm very serious about putting my capital at risk in a cooperation with you in a transparent way. I stopped by the auditor's office. I think Carolyn is her name. She wasn't there, but I talked to staff and I said, I would like to submit even the books of the company that I start just for this, if we get to do it. And I would like them to be able to review it and see that I didn't make any money. And I just want to give back, but I think it's a great idea that I want to do it in a way that could be copied in other places. So any questions, or let me know how to petition if you are willing to continue the conversation.
I don't think anybody on this board, Larry, is opposed to continuing conversations, especially when it comes to affordable housing. And if you're open to it and willing to put together a formal outline and do a workshop that the public can come and ask questions and we can ask questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we'd be good with that.
I would love to do that. I will pursue that. And then who do I email just to show?
Kelly will probably handle that for us.
Okay, I will
Yeah.
do that next week.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Question. Don't go too far.
Okay, I'll go over here.
Okay. I honestly think what your idea is great. Okay, we need to service the people that have low income. I totally agree with that they have to be able to purchase their first accommodations and then go from there. I understand that. What I would caution the county, though, is that we don't build a potential slum area. Okay, now I know this sounds bigoted, whatever name you want to put on it, it sounds really nasty. But I've seen this happen with RV parks. We have one up Vader that people were going out. It's right by the Vader exit. And they were to be, temporary. So people could fish along the river, whatever. They are now permanent. And nothing against these people that stay there. But sometimes if they don't have guidelines, things deteriorate. We had a gentleman here a couple years ago that came and they lived at a RV park at Tootle Road entrance, right by Space Age. Okay. And that deteriorated into fights and whatever. I just would like to have you set really good guidelines for these people.
I
So-
think your concerns are super warranted and history would make you be cautious. I think maybe that's why, and I'm going to say, I think God is part of why I think he's motivating me, but I've got a track record of 3 successful projects in Longview, and I've got the 4th biggest multifamily project, in the approval status that I've got a vision for Longview housing. I've got a track record, and I think the need is there. I'm not convinced to support what you're saying. I don't know that you could do a tiny home project and then sell the homes and have it be successful. I was just telling Mike, big realtor in town, I said, if you sold those homes and then somebody goes on Craigslist for $250 and buys a 20-foot 1950 boat and just parks it there because it's their right, because they own the house, the neighborhood would begin to deteriorate possibly. So I would admit, I don't know how you could sell them, but I'm not saying selling them. And I'm saying these would be rentals, which is basically how people bootstrap. They don't bootstrap by buying. They generally bootstrap by renting. And I would also, I didn't say, I would limit the cost to a percentage of what they cost me. So I wouldn't make, it would make a profit, but the rents would be limited by what it costs. So I'm not asking for the county to donate roughly 1/3 of the cost and then I just make an extra 1/3 of profit. I would limit my profit based on what the cost would be. So those are great questions that I would love to address as they come up, but I'm not advocating for a future slum. I'm advocating for a future tiny home neighborhood that people would be so proud of. I would love, I'll tell you this, we've got a convention center that's underutilized. I would love, and I would promise, if I got to do this, that for 3 years in a row, I would rent the convention center for a tiny home fair, because there are no tiny home developments in Washington that you can show me that have worked. They don't even get to do it. Most municipalities don't allow them because they are afraid of creating a slum.
Well, in a lot of communities, they have HOAs.
They have what?
HOAs.
Yeah.
And that could be something you could apply to your tiny.
Oh, there
home.
would definitely be rules. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I needed to know, because I'm totally for that. I have empathy for people who need to have that step up, and they need that, but I just wanted guidelines.
And I also want to say, there's a need for people with rental assistance. That isn't who I'm targeting. I'm just targeting purely affordable. I'm not going to seek government assistance. This is the cooperation in advance. So I mean, people, but there's there's thousands of people that can afford $750 or $800 rent. They would just love to know that they could move into a place that, you know.
But they're not out there.
Yeah, there's nothing nice that you'd be excited about. So thank you for your
Thank you.
questions.
Hey, I have a couple of thoughts on what Mr. Wood was saying. I like the idea of thinking out of the box. I definitely think we need to start doing that. I have concerns about this project. I think, first of all, if to say that well, sorry, trying to organize my thoughts. Having the county enter into a 40-year lease with somebody, that binds the hands of a lot of years of commissioners, 40 years of it. So I have concerns with that because we don't really know what's going to happen over 40 years. And to say that it's going to be turned back over to the county, this multi-million-dollar investment income, that seems a little presumptuous to me because you don't know what's going to happen economically and things for the next 40 years. And none of us are probably going to be here in 40 years, or very few of us. And so that just feels very presumptuous. I would say if the county has 4.5 acres that aren't being utilized by the county, just put it up for sale and allow anybody who wants to purchase it and develop it how they see fit. But I think having the county be involved, I don't think the county should be involved in rentals and be competing against the private sector in rentals and things. So I have some concerns about it going forward. So
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. We will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.
We have a Board of Health meeting at 10 o'clock, right?
Oh, yes, we do have our Board of Health meeting at 10 a.m. this morning.
I thought we were gonna have, I thought Susan yesterday said we were gonna have somebody.
Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting for March 25th. We'll open the meeting now. I want to make a quick statement. Screen time is harming our youth. Time spent on cell phones, tablets, games, and television are causing damage to our youth's education, their self-esteem, and their eyesight. I read a study from a doctor in the UK that's predicting a blindness epidemic coming soon. Major problems arise from students using cell phones during classroom time. It's a huge distraction from learning for all students, even those who are trying to pay attention. Kelly? The good news is that there is a simple and proven solution that exists already. Kelly's going to show it to us. It's a proven solution that exists already. It's an idea that's inexpensive and it can improve students' mental health as well as boost academic achievement and test scores. I'm talking about a cell phone cubby. This is something that they hang in the classrooms, and you can put your cell phones in. It can help curtail cyberbullying, improve self-esteem, and significantly help teachers educate our youth more efficiently. I know this has been used for over 10 years in schools, in some schools. So in the name of good mental health for students and teachers alike, I think Cowlitz County Schools should prioritize getting cell phones out of the students' hands during classroom time. I know my teachers would never let such distractions to permeate the classroom. And with that, I'm going to move on to review the minutes. Everybody received the minutes. I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Motion on the floor from Commissioner Rader to accept the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Okay. Next, we have, I thought I saw Carol or Gina, or both. Every year, the Health Department is doing a public service announcement with kids that make a commercial or a. Go ahead.
Yes, yes.
Tell
So
us
we,
about it.
the last couple of years, we've done a public service announcement contest. We've done it sort of in in alignment with Public Health Week, which is coming up April 7th through 13th. So we've done this contest where we ask the community to submit a public service announcement, and there's a winner, and we highlight the video, and we ask them to make a video on something public health related, a message to get out to the community, and then we'll boost that message. So this year we reached out to schools and worked with schools to work with, encourage students to make a video, put this together. There was some health classes that kind of took it on as a project, or leadership groups within schools. We received about 7 to 8 video entries from kids in schools locally, which was great. So we have a winner that we'd like to highlight today. Kelly has a link to the video. This was a group of students from Castle Rock High School that submitted this video. We got videos on all kinds of topics about bullying, drinking, those types of things. This video, the winner here was, it's called Point of View, You've Been Catfished. So this is a video about being catfished. So we'll play this video for you.
Guess who added me on Snapchat? Who? Josh. Who is Josh? This random kid from a different school. I don't even know who he is. Huh. Add him back, see what happens. Okay. All right, let's send a snap. Okay. Yeah. Josh situation.
Tina, you said these girls are from Castle Rock High School?
Yes.
All right.
Mhm. Yeah, there was actually five students that worked on this video. So there's just 2 you see in in the actual video, but there was 5 students that worked together on the project.
Gina, for
many-
those people who don't have children, can you explain what catfished is?
So catfishing is when you are pretending to be somebody that you're not online. So you're representing yourself as someone that you're not, to either, typically with some kind of ill intent, trying to lure someone for a meeting or scamming somebody for money or those types of things. So you mentioned kids and cell phones and being on social media is a big thing right now. And so getting some awareness out about potential catfishing and people pretending to be who they're not is a good message to get out there. So
Did you have the same amount of, or how many entries did you have this year?
I think we had 7 or 8 entries this year. Yeah, so it was pretty good. Let's see if we can get this
Who
video.
added me on Snapchat? Who? Josh. Who is Josh? This random kid from a different school. I don't even know who he is. Huh. Add him back. See what happens. Okay. All right. Let's send a snap. Okay. Yeah. Josh situation is weird. Like, who even is he? I don't even know, but he keeps snapping me. Look. Oh. I wonder if Josh would want to hang out with me sometime. Yeah, maybe you should ask. Okay. Oh my gosh, Bailey, Josh wants to hang out tonight. Where at? The parking ride. He said around 9. I don't know if that's a good idea. Well, I think I'm gonna go anyway.
I guess 9 o'clock works.
I think this is it. You're not Josh. 95% of teenagers are active on social media. An average of 500,000 predators are active online each day. Around 20,000 people are catfished per year.
Yeah. So that was our winner for this year. So we'll get that posted on our website. And like I said, we'll throughout Public Health Week, which again is April 7th through 13th, we'll be posting that on our Facebook page and helping to get that message out. So we just wanted to share it with Board of Health and
Well,
something fun.
congratulations to them. Who was the team, or did they have a name?
There's not like a group, there's not a group name, just the students from Castle Rock High School that submitted that together. Yeah.
Did a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us share that. What will we do with the video? So it will go on our website. We have a PSA contest landing page on our website, and we'll also put it on our Facebook page, and we'll boost it throughout the week. So it'll pop up multiple times. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, very good. It's good to bring awareness because, yeah, a lot of the technology is being abused instead of used for what it is. Thank you very much. Next thing on the next item on the agenda, just to talk about some of the other county resolutions that are going on in other states. I just wanted to bring it up that there there's other counties that are pushing back on a lot of different things. One is the Chelan-Douglas County Board of Health. They put in a motion to suspend administration and promotion of COVID-19 vaccines. That's still pending right now. Franklin County in Washington did pass a resolution to advise against the use of genetic biological vaccine platforms on children and adults. They basically, one of the couple notes that they mentioned is they're against any administration of gene therapy vaccines for infectious disease indications in our community. They say that removing gene therapy vaccines from child vaccine recommendations in our county and the state of Washington until a comprehensive evaluation has been done on the vaccines. mRNA type of vaccines have been in question since they came out. And there's definitely, I believe that should be looked into to make sure that they really are safe. And then, oh, I don't think I have it with me, but if I can remember correctly, state of Idaho just passed a bill that bans any employer from discriminating against somebody who has the vaccine or has not, and it cannot be a mandatory for you to get a job. So just something that's going on in the news that's related to some of the things that we've been talking about. And I just wanted to open it up to the board if anybody wanted to talk about anything like that. Otherwise, we might have a pretty short meeting, which is okay too.
State of Idaho took a position that you cannot discriminate against somebody who is or is not vaccinated.
That's correct, and it cannot be it cannot mandate it for a position. Some places, like we know in our county, many nurses and many medical people were fired because they wouldn't take the vaccine. And so this is preemptive in Idaho to say you can't do that anymore.
Yes, thank you.
So it's a preemptive strike for future. It's not that there's anything in place currently.
No, but some employers, I believe our current state of Washington has some guidelines that say that you must be vaccinated for certain jobs, I believe. I think the hospital here in Longview requires full vaccination.
Okay, with that being said, as a Board of Health, what power do you have to go to that employer and change their mind?
Very good question. I've been talking about this for a long time. It's kind of, it gets old to me sometimes, but if there's still a risk to the public, I think we should talk about it. And what I have said, I'm of the belief that if the patient is informed and gives their consent to getting a vaccine, that this board shouldn't worry about trying to prohibit it. If Safeway, for example, wants to give out vaccines for free, I don't feel any kind of need that we should say, no, you shouldn't do it. As long as the patient is informed and knows the risks. As for the employers to do, I don't think the board has much jurisdiction over employers like that. And for my previous statement, I'd say that, yeah, I think that if the employers, I think last year I used an analogy that if Taco Bell wants to require all their employees and all their customers to be vaccinated to come in, let them do it. I don't think it's right, but the market will probably correct for that.
Yeah, well, my children are teachers. I have 3 of them that are teachers, and the state is going to require and does require vaccines. And I think if the school is local and you are the local Board of Health, you should have some say in being able to negate their authority on that, because you have to have some local control. That's why you're our Board of Health. And so far from what I've seen, the state overrides or can override anything that you do, and you don't have any teeth to enforce what you do want to have done. I mean, there's no penalty if you tell them they can't do something. The police are not going to back you up, apparently, correct? So what teeth do you have? I mean, are you gumless? I hate to say that, but I want you to have power. I want the Board of Health to say, this is what's going to happen, and this is what we as a county have ruled to be the rule and enforce it, be able to enforce it.
It's, what you're raising here now is something I want to talk about is House Bill 1531. I mentioned that. And basically, if this bill passes, in my estimation, it will take out the teeth of all local boards of health. It's a
I
new.
read that bill and I agree.
It's a new policy that says local health officials must promote vaccines and may not enact policies to prohibit such measures. In the code, it says, shortening this, it's a policy that the state and local health officials must promote vaccines. Subdivisions, which would be this local board of health, may not enact policies that prohibit such measures.
That's terrible. Hate it.
It is, and as far as I know, this bill has not passed yet. It's kind of getting stuck. It's House Bill 1531, and I personally think that that's a bad law. And we'll see what happens in Olympia. But just the fact that they're trying to, somebody came up with a bill like that says that they're trying to control things up, centrally control things and not let the local people do it.
I agree. Oh, sad.
Sad. I would suppose that the commissioners probably have some sway over whether teachers must be vaccinated or not, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't think that we do.
I don't know how we would have, but I'd entertain the discussion.
Mhm.
I remember in the past, the commissioners had the power for the county employees, but not anything beyond that.
Right.
So,
This is a situation in my mind where we can look to the government, look to the Board of Health to address and fix these types of things. But ultimately, it's got to come from the citizens. The parents have got to say, we are not falling in line with this. Because if the state is going to just continue to take and to take and to take, and they're going to continue to try and tell us what is best for our lives and how we should and shouldn't be living our individual lives. And I'm pretty sure that I speak for all of us when I say that our individual rights are paramount. And the Constitution says that, and the Constitution is there to limit the government, not to allow the government to limit ours. And so I would say that I would do whatever we could do to fight against it, whatever is within our capacity, but ultimately it needs to come from the parents and from the citizens and from the people that are affected, because we can't continue to trust government agencies to do what is best for us. Our founding fathers didn't trust the government, which is why we have the Declaration of Independence. And oftentimes we falsely put trust into government organizations and agencies that we assume have our best interest in mind, but they really don't. They're really all about power. They're about money. And ultimately, that's why I think it's important that things stay at the local level, because we here know what is best for us. Olympia doesn't deal with the same things that we do. Seattle doesn't deal with the same things that we do. And Spokane doesn't deal with the same things that we do. So the more things that can be decided at the local level, the better for our communities. I agree. I believe wholeheartedly. And we will do, as county commissioners and as a Board of Health, whatever we can to keep the individual's choice at the individual level.
I'm glad you're our new commissioner and on the board. You too, Commissioner.
I agree with everything he said.
I'd just like to also say Commissioner Dahl is doing jury duty, and our other board member, Karen Joyner, is not feeling well today. So that's why we're a small board today. Yeah, that's excellent comments, Commissioner Rader. Please.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On this 1521, I believe that's what it is.
House Bill 1531.
31. I read it too. frankly, I'm not sure it's necessary because I think the board is, the board or the rules as they are now, we have to rely on the local Board of Health and the Human Services folks, Dr. Krager, et cetera, Human Services. I don't think it's necessary because right now I think they're following evidence-based, practices, recommendations in terms of vaccines, immunizations, et cetera. And that's what I see as 1521 trying to accomplish, but I think it's already there. They're trying to accomplish that it's promote. It's not you must take vaccines or immunizations. It's to promote evidence-based types of interventions or for the general public for, say, measles, COVID, whatever, safe sex. They're there to promote that. And they're evidence-based. They've been proven scientifically. And so that's what 1531s are trying to accomplish. The mandate for the human services and boards of health is it's kind of a complicated deal through my mind's eye, but they're already somewhat mandated to promote that. What do you tell the citizens of your county? What's the safest way to protect your kids, your adults, your employees? And that is evidence-based that, it's taking the vaccine. You're more at risk. It's up to the people and the parents and whatnot to decide whether or not they're going to do that or not. That's all I see is 1531 doing.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. I'll open it up to public comment at this point. Please. Come up here so you can be so everybody else can hear on the microphone. Oh. I don't see them myself.
There is one that wants to know if we're talking about just COVID vaccines or vaccines in general.
That's the question?
Yeah.
Or proof of immunity. They're saying that the only requirement for teachers statewide is the MMR vaccine or proof of immunity. Well, that's interesting.
I would say, when you look at the list of vaccines that were required 25 years ago, compared to the list of vaccines that we have today, like just the comment talked about the measles. I would probably say I'm not the only person in this room that got the measles when they were little. I had the measles, I had the chicken pox, I had the mumps, and I'm still here. In fact, it was funny. My kids showed me this Brady Bunch episode where one of the Brady Bunch boys comes in smiling, happy, and he says, "Mom, I don't feel good." And he has a fever, ends up he has the measles, and all the kids get to stay home and play board games with the measles because if you're going to be sick at home with the measles. Not saying that measles is not a bad thing and it doesn't affect everybody, but I think we have to be careful to have such a knee-jerk reaction to think that we have to have an answer for everything. We get sick. As human beings, we get sick. Things happen. We cannot prevent auto accidents 100% of the time. It just isn't going to happen. There are risks that we take. I'll give you a personal example about vaccines. We did not want to give the chickenpox vaccine to my daughter. None of my kids had the chickenpox vaccine. They all had chickenpox. They're fine, healthy human beings, adults. The one daughter didn't want to get the vaccine, and the doctor and the nurse persisted and persisted and persisted on her getting that chickenpox vaccine because we were told if she got a light case of the chickenpox that she would get shingles when she was an adult.
That's the line.
Okay. We gave in because the school said she had to have it. She got the chickenpox vaccine, and I know I'm going to get told that she's the exception. She got the chickenpox vaccine, and 3 weeks later, she was in full-blown chickenpox all over her body. She was sick for 3 days. A month and a half after those chickenpox went away, she had shingles all down the left side of her body.
Yeah.
So my point is to say that everybody should have this vaccine. I don't care what the vaccine is. It doesn't matter what it's for. I think that it goes back to the individual and their medical care provider. There needs to be tests done to say, you know what, maybe you shouldn't take this vaccine because it has X, Y, and Z, and your body really can't handle that. We don't do that. We just blanketly say everybody needs to have this. And I disagree with that because there aren't very many things in life that we deal with that way. We take individual responsibility and individual personal health into account. And in the situation with vaccines, to blanketly say everybody needs to have all these vaccines, I completely disagree with. And I don't care what the vaccine is myself, to be quite honest with you. You know, the measles, there's a measles epidemic. You get a fever for 2 days and you might get some blisters all over. Okay. The case where they said that little boy died of the measles in Dallas, come to find out, it wasn't the measles that killed him. He actually had pre-existing conditions, and the reason that he went to the doctor in the first place, they gave him the measles, or he got the measles while he was at the doctor, and he ended up passing away from the other complications, not from the measles. So he had the pre-existing conditions that caused the death, but he also acquired the measles in the process. So I just have to ask myself, why this big push to get everybody vaccinated for things that don't, like I said, I'm sure a lot of us in here got the measles or chickenpox when we were little. In fact, I remember going to a chickenpox party when I was little. My parents took me to the neighbor's house because the neighbor had chickenpox so that I could get it and get it done and be over with.
Yeah. So the term evidence-based, I think, is pretty loose. And I agree with Commissioner Rader that it should be an individual choice, not something the state says, this is evidence-based and this is what everybody's going to do. They told us that if you get the vaccine for COVID, for example, you would not get COVID. That was proven to be false. It's not evidence-based. They said if you get the vaccine for COVID, you won't spread COVID. You won't transmit it anymore. That also was false. The masks, the social distancing, it was all proven false. Yet, in the past, it was evidence-based. Welcome, Commissioner Dahl.
I would, just reading this first statement that the only requirement is the vaccine or proof of immunity. I had, what they call it, the German measles, the hard measles, the mumps, chicken pox. But when I was a kid and I went through all of that, I think when I was in the 4th and the 5th grade, I don't know that my medical records go back that far to prove that I had those things. There wouldn't be any medical records back in the early 60s. I would have to go get a blood test to have somebody try and prove that I still got the immunity. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, and that is interesting that they say that you have to proof of immunity. You know, there were people that were immune to COVID. You know, some people just didn't get it. How to prove it, I don't know. We might ask our Dr. Krager. I believe Dr. Krager's online. Dr. Krager, is there a way to prove you're immune to some kind of a disease?
Yeah, it depends. Hi, everyone. Just a couple things. I wanted to just point out, I know there's been a lot of information specifically about the measles outbreak. I linked to the Department of State Health and Human Services from Texas, and they talk about the death that occurred in the child, and they say that the child was not vaccinated and had no underlying condition. So I want to put the most clear information about that out there. In regards to immunity, measles, we do have blood tests that can say whether you have antibodies to measles. We also generally, and I'd have to look at the law specifically for staff, but generally if you were born, I think it's before 1957, we just consider you immune because, yeah, most people got measles prior to that. So That's what we do in public health investigations when we have measles. We either look for a vaccination record, we look for an antibody test, or we look, when you were born, and then we can try to figure out whether you're probably immune or not. For other, measles is kind of unique because we have a lot of understanding about it as a infectious disease. Not every virus or bacteria that we try to prevent with a vaccine is easy to figure out whether you're immune just from like a blood test or not. And it's not always black or white, right? I mean, the measles vaccine is one of the best that we have. When you have two of them, you're 97% immune. That means that, there's 3% of people that could still get measles, and it's going to be a much milder form, but that does happen. I like the car analogy because to me, vaccines are like a seatbelt. We yeah, it's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna prevent every complication in a car accident, but it's certainly better than nothing. That's the way that I kind of view it.
Except Dr. Krieger, with the seatbelt analogy, I understand that, but isn't it also true what Commissioner Rader said, that sometimes, and in his case, his child got shingles and chicken pox from the vaccine? Does that happen?
Yeah, it's hard to, so varicella is chicken pox, so that we call it the varicella vaccine. And it is a vaccine that is it's actually a virus, a very weak form of a virus, of the varicella virus. So you can get like very mild case. It's not super common. The other possibility is that, some people get sick with the illness before the vaccination kicks in. So, on a specific case by case basis, I also just want to, it's hard to say sometimes. I also just want to say, like, generally, yeah, this is it's an individual choice. I mean, everyone should kind of talk with their providers about what vaccines make sense for them. I completely agree with that. I don't have any problems with that. But I get a little bit concerned, specifically about measles because we've done such a good job controlling it in this country. And 400 to 500 kids used to die a year from measles. And I don't want that to happen. Most people do fine. That is absolutely true. But 1 to 3 out of 1,000 people die. And that's a risk that, to me is too high, as a public health official. So I just, generally we're doing okay for measles. There's parts of the world that have much more measles than we do. But I don't want to see us backslide, I guess.
Thank you, Dr. Krieger. Anybody else want to comment on this, or should we open it to public comments? We'll open it up to public comment period. Welcome. Just make sure the green light's on there.
It's on.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so informative. We have so many health concerns, don't we? And I'm here to ask you, as a health board, to support our school districts. Last year, I was at the Longview School Board. They had a report on their health and wellness committee. There was a long list of agencies involved, but the person giving the report said the health board was not represented. So I ask you, especially now, to support our schools by giving and informing them of the truths. Title IX has been overturned. And we all know, we can research it. The Parents Network has done a fine job of showing that transgender confusion is not healthy for K through 12 children, mentally and physically. It is unhealthy. There are facts and reports. Transgenderism is a mental illness. We need to support our school boards. Recently, the Longview School Board voted in sync with the state. 2 people voted against it. One needed more information. The other one wanted the procedure to be followed, which it was not. That is a second reading before they voted. So I ask you as the health board to support our school districts in truly making the schools a more safe environment. But that's what the superintendent is calling the reversal of the Title IX, making schools more safe. I need you to advocate for more safety health-wise at the schools.
So to clarify, you say that the Longview School Board just approved to reverse the Title IX? And you asked if we were involved in that? No, they didn't ask us about that. I would think that school boards, if they're talking about something related to health, we're here. Be nice if they would contact us, and we'd be happy to help.
Because of the issues being so in front of us, you might send a representative to the school board once in a while and find out what's going on. The other thing is the Parents Network, Washington State Parents Network, is easily accessible online, and they have facts that can, all of our parents, as you said, Mr. Rader, it's important for all of us to stand up for the safety of our children in our schools.
Thank you very much.
Kelly,
Yes.
in thinking about supporting the schools in health issues, do we as a board need to take an official stance on a particular health issue before we could go represent the board at a meeting like that? I don't quite know the logistics of that.
I would recommend that the board comes to an agreement before they make a decision with a representative for the
So we would
school.
just wait for an issue to be brought to us, and then as a board, we would
Yeah.
come to a conclusion and then represent that at the meeting. Is that kind of the?
And well, that's why I asked that the school boards come to us if they have some questions, and
Do we need to be proactive in looking at the issues they're looking at and come to it, or is that kind of putting the cart before the horse?
kind of sounds like it.
I'm just asking, I'm not quite sure the procedure, of how we would be supportive of them, I guess is my question.
I would think, regardless of whether they came to us or if we had a pressing issue as a Board of Health, that if we took a stand, a particular position on something, once that stand is taken, then as a member of the board, you could
We could
feel
go
free to represent the board
represent
on
the
that
board.
issue, but not until the board has taken a position on it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I guess, sort of my question is then how do those issues come before the board? Do we just wait for them to contact us, or should we be looking at,
No,
the boys and the girls sports is an issue, I mean, do we sort of proactively look at that?
I would think that if you're a concerned parent and you're attending school board meetings and something comes up that you're concerned about, don't wait for the school to bring it in here and see if you can get it on the agenda.
Yeah.
You always have right as an individual. I've been to Castle Rock School Board twice, and as resident of Castle Rock and living in that district, and have lobbied against their policy 3211, which is the transgender policy that they fall under, that the state pretty much puts a thumbtack on everybody that they're supposed to. But I speak as myself as a resident of Castle Rock and stuff.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Bob Reynolds with Informed Choice Washington. Thank you again for the previous administration that passed the medical freedom resolution that's on your website still. I have a couple topics if I have enough time, but first, have you already covered what happened in Franklin County since we
just briefly spoke about it, that but if you'd like to recap.
Yeah, I'd like to read some of the therefore statements, just to know that this county set a precedent in a way. And then I could talk on an update on HB 1531 that I was witnessing. And also there's something else from the Department of Health that I don't know if Director Krager can address it better, but there is a fluoride research team reviewing fluoridation in the state as a policy from the Department of Health, and I'll just go into that briefly.
Please.
And a couple of things just to make sure the county doesn't feel alone. There are other counties out there that took exception to the COVID shots, and in fact, in Franklin County, they're calling them gene therapy. And I think that still a little fuzzy if that really only reflects the mRNA version of the shots. But they had a science presentation, they had a resolution that they wanted to write and sign, and they did so. They couldn't do it at the regional health district level. I understand that this health director might be involved in Franklin County, well, Franklin Benton Health District, and probably the local health officer team. There's a whole union of people that basically follow the Secretary of Health and the Department of Health, and they don't deviate. So they had to take it down to the county level. So the county commissioners, a commission of 3, said that Franklin County, State of Washington declares that we value the health and lives of our citizens, including children. Out of an abundance of caution, we recommend against any administration of the gene therapy vaccines for infectious disease indications in any modality in our community, removing these gene therapy vaccines from the child vaccine recommendations in our county and in the state of Washington until, and they set some conditions forth as to what they would hope to see, that more studies, they want it to be looked at for, in a typical world, vaccines go through years. Pharmacological review, immunological mutagenicity, so does it mutate your cells? Carcinogenicity, does it cause cancer? Any toxicological effects, effect on fertility? That's not been formally done before they launched the COVID shots, and now they're just running with them. And I don't know if they're actually doing the compensatory studies as the formally and fully as you normally would. They also put as a condition, they would like to have completion of epidemiological investigation of the health outcomes related to COVID-19 vaccines for residents of Washington State. And by the way, Washington State's uptake in since last fall of this year's formulation of the investigational use COVID shot is 18%. So 18% uptake in the state so far of something that's been available since last fall. So not a huge draw in that, which is, good and bad. And they also ask for transparent, accurate, complete, informed consent. It's available for all individuals and persons, so no mandates, no teacher mandates, no worker mandates. It's hard for, as we discussed during the medical freedom resolution, it was hard to, I'm thinking maybe more on the Clark County side, it was hard to tell businesses, private businesses, what to do. But county boards of health might have that authority to set ordinances. So again, therefore, Franklin County creates corporate liability for harm due to products that use mRNA, DNA, or any genetic technology. So basically, they support legislation. They're not making an ordinance. The language I used was missing the words supports legislation. They support legislation that provides for appropriate compensation and treatment for Washington citizens harmed by gene therapy vaccines. They support legislation that requires informed consent, transparency, and labeling of any product for human, animal, and agricultural use, which is another interesting side topic because there are mRNA vaccines in our feedstocks for pigs. They're testing everything to see if mRNA can be bent into use in poultry and in beef. And they support legislation that prohibits mandates. And therefore, they request that the Benton Franklin Health District conducts a thorough review, presentation, and discussion of the adverse effects, and the Benton Franklin Health Board cease to provide, fund, or promote gene therapy vaccines. So this is all in the couched as a resolution, which is a recommendation, and that's as far as they went. So then I'll go into HB 1531, which would potentially stop even resolutions like this. But certainly the language of HB 1531 is clear from, even the governor's office is on board with this now. They showed up to testify that, basically counties, boards of health, other jurisdictions, cities could not say or do anything contrary to what is decided to be the best available science, evidence-based, a bit of a catchphrase still, from the state level. And could not, actually, I guess you could promote, but any policy you made would be null and void. And you could not stop the Department of Health from promoting their best available science. That's kind of what the handcuffs you'd be applied with. I suppose you could still file some statements, but you could not, the language of the bill, the way I read it now, is really you can't stop the Department of Health from saying what they need to say, from their promotion. So that bill was heard in the other chamber in Olympia this week. That was Monday morning, 10:30, I think. So my personal feeling on that is that the Speaker of the House, Lori Jenkins, works for Tacoma Pierce Public Health. She is the senior advisor. She's worked for that group for a long time. That's where this bill originated from. They were building that bill as response to states like, we thought Idaho, but now they're claiming Louisiana is, they're passing laws that are keeping COVID shots off the table altogether in Louisiana. They passed that recently. Idaho is stopping the COVID shot specifically in southwest Idaho. And so that is the defensive mechanism that they're forwarding this bill on. And I think it's a pet project. It's poorly written. Now they're talking about it's important because they need to be able to train you on STIs, sexually transmitted infections, and bird flu. But it's all about COVID. That's the only reason they started this bill, was because the COVID shots are being turned down in some areas. And so I think it's disingenuous. I will add on a couple of the bills that we've been testifying or been involved in, at least vocally in Olympia, has been, there are some elected officials who come up and testify, if you feel strongly enough, certainly against the Parents' Bill of Rights, if you've heard of that in the news, that we're opposed to that because it's denying informed consent to parents. It's hiding information from parents. And we had school board members, elected school board members, testifying in that case. So
is that where the 13-year-olds and up can get?
It's related to that. Yeah, there are other laws and other policies in the state that allow certain called routine medical procedures and counseling for people as young as 13. In some cases, there are no lower age limits for some of the other services.
And that's without the parents' consent.
And armed with certain words and knowledge, and a provider who's willing to declare a minor to be mature, which I have no idea how they do that without some guilt. We don't have any huge examples of violations of or misuse of the mature minor rule, but there is a bill in Olympia as well that seeks to, it's Jim Walsh's bill that seeks to undermine or revert, I think what's the word, but basically overturn or ignore a court precedent in our state that kind of all the other mature minor doctrine things that are lowering age limit accessibility is based on this one court case from 1967. And it's total misuse of that court case based on, that was for an 18-year-old, not 13-year-old. So I don't know if I answered your question. Okay, and so I'll just then transition off into the other topic that from the Department of Health from last month. Actually, it's in January, but their program is ongoing. They're reviewing water fluoridation across the state. Right now, they say it's up to local water utilities to decide, and counties, mostly county boards of health, to decide if they fluoridate. You could have a voice in this. I'm sorry, I don't know the water fluoridation status here in Cowlitz, but there are studies that have come out a lot recently that have pointed to deleterious effects. It's a health treatment provided without informed consent as a medical treatment in a water utility. It should be done with more informed consent. And there are some cognitive effects that they've detected. And the benefits of fluoridation can be had through toothpaste and trips to the dentist. And I'm not really buying the argument that it's for underserved communities that can't afford to go buy toothpaste and go to the dentist. So that science review is under review now. They may change their policy toward the end of this month, next month. And I just ask you to look up for that.
Thank you for your comments. That's, yeah, some strange things, in my opinion, that promote laws to lower age limits like that. Welcome. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to just take a chance to say hello and just, we've got the first installment of the funding, the Foundation Public Health Services funds that your group approved last year, and it's really helping us out. Some other funding sources have dried up or gone away or, proved elusive. And so, yeah, it's really helpful.
Can we all plant now? The frost is over. Can we plant now?
I mean, it depends, but yes, we're planting. Kids right now, as we're speaking, are at Mint Valley, Columbia Heights, St. Helens, are out with our people planting peas today. So it's definitely pea planting and maybe carrots and radishes and some greens and stuff. But we got a lot of stuff going in the greenhouses. And just finished our pruning of fruit trees, which is a big deal. We've got like 200 fruit trees spread around the gardens, which is a big project. So yeah, I just wanted to express gratitude, and also, Steve or Commissioner Rader and Commissioner Farrell. I know you folks weren't in on that vote, but I just want to let you know that it's valuable, and sort of related to the prevention aspect that I know this group thinks about a lot, and some of the discussions you've had. Something, I guess the way one thing to call it is protective factors. I know some folks at the last meeting were talking about sort of church and community, those protective factors. It's different than just saying, don't do drugs, but like, what are we doing instead? What are the positive things? Are there things to do in the community? Don't stare at your phone all day. What else are we doing with our time? What else is going on? Especially, not everyone's into sports. And so what are those things? And so, talking to some prevention folks, they sort of echoed back to us that, getting families together in the gardens, doing something positive, taking those plants home and caring for them, whether that's, in their own garden or just in a little pot on the porch if they don't have a yard, that kind of thing, and just sort of being, also just the idea of being involved in something that's helping other people as opposed to how am I doing, growing food, and the kids are like, oh, we're giving this away to people who don't have food, I think is a big source of pride and meaning. So I just appreciate that. And I just, if I could just ask to clarify, I should know because I think I've heard it before, but the funding, the Foundation Public Health Service funds, where did they come from originally? And I'm asking
They're allocated from the state of Washington.
From the state of Washington.
Yeah, and we're given, and Gina's not here. There's a formula I think they use to how much Cowlitz County gets and other counties get, and you can use them for the specific purposes. If we don't use it all up, it goes back to the pot and it gets reallocated to the next year. But that's where it comes from. Is the state.
Does it bill? I'm just curious. So they don't like disappear? Because I know we're not spending all of them.
Anything in the legislature technically could disappear, but this has been going on quite a while. I don't think there's any, I'm not aware of any intention to make it disappear.
Mm-hmm.
We're allocated, pick a number, say we're allocated 800,000 a year. If we don't use that, if we only use 5, we send 300,000 back, but then it goes back into their pot and they've always been reallocating for the next year.
I see. But you
And
don't,
it doesn't accumulate. If we don't use 300, it doesn't mean we have an extra 300.
that's what I was gonna ask.
The
Yeah,
next year.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And then you folks were talking about the teen, the party, the prevention party thing, and those funds were from the opioid settlement?
That one would probably fit the opioid where you'd look for that. You're talking about that initial 10,000.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just curious about that.
Yeah. And the opioid funds, they came from settlements. Now, those don't disappear. They're awarded to the counties based on whatever formula it is. And it sits there. It doesn't go away.
You get to keep them until, I see.
We keep it, but we have, well, it's a pretty long document. It's about 7 pages of things you can use it for, but it can't just be used for anything. It has to fit into one of these categories. But like I say, there's like 7 pages of categories.
Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate that. And those, how long do you have to spend? And I'm not asking for our own organization. I'm just, I get, people ask me all the time about these funds.
If you're talking about an opioid, I don't believe there's any time limit on the spending. Some of them, we'll be getting disbursements for the next 15, 17 years. Some are built over years. And some are one-time things. And I have not been aware of any document that says if you don't spend them like 20, 30, that we're going to take them back. I think because that was a court settlement, I think once they're here, they're here. We just have to spend them per the guidelines that we're given.
And thank you. And then the Foundation Public Health, is that like June or July that those turn over? Something like that?
You're testing my recollection, but I think it is.
Gina is here.
Is she here?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was looking at you already.
you're just letting me go up here.
You were doing a great job.
I
Okay.
agree.
Those funds run on state fiscal year, so they run July 1st through June 30th.
I see.
Yeah.
And so, and again, I'm not asking for myself. I'm just curious. There's some more, so some of those are kind of slated to get sent back if they don't get used for something. Is that true?
Correct. Yes.
How many dollars is that?
Ooh, we vow to not do math in public.
I respect that.
Last year was about 800,000. This year, probably about the same. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time and the support. We really appreciate it. And we'd love to have, I know we're supposed to do some reports throughout the year. One of those is probably coming up. But also if any of you would like to either solo or collectively, tour a garden or see our programs or something, we'd love to share that with you folks. So thank you very much.
Thank
For
you.
what you do, Ian. Thank you.
I think the one thing that convinced me on the school garden project was in his presentation that he gave all the kids in all the pictures, there were no cell phones. Nobody was holding a cell phone. I thought that was great.
I think we need to get all the volunteers to come out and help us with our own gardens. That would be helpful. I think all of you know that the 4C group turned out a document, public safety in Cowlitz County. And that's been out probably about a year. When we start talking about the homeless situation, the first comment that most people make is we need something for mental health. So that seems to be the common theme, and that seems to be a very significant part of public safety in the county. So what I have been doing in preparation to help the commissioners and the Board of Health make decisions is I'm in the process of collecting information and trying to put it together in some kind of a format so we have a good reading of what our mental health needs are in the county. So I just want you to be aware that I'm working on that. I don't have a timeline when I'm going to have that present. I'm going around talking with the people that have, I'm going to call them, actively collecting or housing mental health. And for example, the jail. I've talked to Marin, so I've got a pretty good idea what's going on there. I know how many people we have at the state. I do know that we have people at Peace Health has mental health people, and I'm waiting for a contact over there to go talk to those people and figure that out. I was talking to Paul Hellenberg, the mayor of Castle Rock, this morning, and his first comment says, "Don't forget the schools." And that's something that I hadn't even thought about. So we talk, we think in terms of mental health, and we associate that with homeless people, drug addiction, and all that. But now I may have added to my stops the various schools to find out what their needs are. So as I can put that together, because what I'm really trying to do is get a complete understanding of the total county needs for mental health. So then we can start talking about the physical part of what we need in the way of facilities. So I'm just letting you, the health board, know that I'm working on that. And if you got any input or any suggestions, please send them my way.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of work. It's a big problem. I know you were spending some time on it too, and the beds in the jails and such like that.
I was more working on juvenile, but yeah.
The juvenile. Any other comments or questions from the board? Any other public comments? And I don't see any hands raised, although I can't see it. Well, with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 11:02. Thank you for coming.